They say the soul returns until the lesson is learned. But what happens when the lesson is complete? There's an old tale whispered by mystics and echoed through sacred texts, that every soul walks through countless lives, collecting wisdom, shedding karma, and ascending slowly like a mountain climber, rising toward the final peak. But there's one life, one moment in time, when the climb ends, when the soul has completed its curriculum. That life is unlike any other. You feel different. You see differently. People call you old soul, but it's more than that. You feel ancient. And the world around you? It no longer pulls at you like it used to. The chaos feels distant. The games, the drama, the chasing. It's like watching it all from a high window, detached yet aware. If you're reading this, something in you already knows this might be your final round on Earth. The signs have been showing themselves, subtle at first, then loud enough you couldn't ignore them. Let's reveal the 9 unmistakable signs that you're in your last life cycle, the soul's grand finale. Sign number 1. You feel a deep, unexplainable detachment from the material world, and it's not because you're failing to succeed in it. It's because something in you has outgrown it. The pull that once had power. The status, the money, the brand names, the social media validation now feels like background noise to a melody only you can hear. You're not bitter, you're not broken, and you're certainly not lost. You're awakening. You look around and see people chasing symbols, clinging to things, measuring themselves in numbers and possessions. And while once you might have done the same, now it all seems like a game you no longer wish to play. You didn't choose this shift, it chose you. It crept in slowly, through moments of stillness, through waves of exhaustion that had nothing to do with your body and everything to do with your soul. You began to feel that no matter how much you gained, it could never fill the invisible well inside you. And that was the beginning of your remembering, that you are not here to collect, but to complete, not to consume, but to contribute. This detachment is not apathy, it's evolution. It's the soul preparing to graduate from the school of material obsession, not because it's wrong, but because it's finished. You've lived through lifetimes where gold and glory ruled your decisions. You've known the hunger for power, the seduction of wealth, and the comfort of ownership. But now, in this lifetime, those things feel shallow. Not evil, not useless, just insufficient. You walk through stores and malls and feel no urgency to buy. You scroll through curated lives and feel no jealousy. And when someone asks what your 5-year plan is, you speak more of peace and purpose than profits and promotions. You crave experiences that nourish the soul, not inflate the ego. Conversations that stir your spirit, not just your ambition. You find joy in silence, freedom in simplicity, power in presence. And while the world might call you detached or even strange, deep down you know this is the soul's final act. You're not rejecting the world, you're transcending it. You haven't lost desire, you've refined it. You want less, not because you're broken, but because you're whole. This detachment isn't a flaw, it's a sacred signal. You remembered who you are, and the world can no longer convince you otherwise. Signal 2. You're a magnet for pain, but not your own. And you've known this for as long as you can remember, though you never quite had the words for it. People are drawn to you with their wounds exposed, their hearts bleeding, stories they've never told anyone else. And for reasons they can't explain, they feel safe unraveling in your presence. It's not because you ask or invite it. It's because your soul vibrates at a frequency that understands suffering without judgment. You've walked through lifetimes of heartbreak, betrayal, and spiritual fire, and whether you consciously remember them or not, your energy carries the wisdom of those scars. People can feel it. They know you've been through something, even if they can't name what. And so they lean on you, they confess to you, they bleed on you, and somehow you don't flinch. You listen without fixing, hold space without trying to rescue, and offer comfort not through words, but through your very being. You've become the emotional anchor in other people's storms, not because you thought that role, but because your spirit was forged in the fire of empathy. You carry a silent understanding that many never reach in 100 lifetimes. But here's what makes it sacred. You're no longer drowning in other people's pain. You feel it deeply, but it doesn't break you. It transforms through you. Like a spiritual alchemist, you don't store their pain. You filter it through the lens of compassion and return it lighter, softer, more bearable. You've learned to care without carrying, to feel without fragmenting. And this gift, this ability to hold space for suffering, isn't weakness. It's mastery. It means your soul has graduated from victimhood and now stands in the realm of healer, guide, and mirror. At times it's lonely. At times the weight of unspoken sorrow feels immense. But you've come to understand that this magnetism for pain isn't a curse. It's confirmation. Confirmation that your soul has evolved beyond self-centered survival and now serves as a vessel for collective healing. You're not here to avoid pain. You're here to help dissolve it. And the pain that once broke you in other lives has now become your bridge to others. You carry the medicine not because you were spared the wounds, but because you survived them. Side number 3. Your relationships are more about growth than comfort. And while that may sound poetic on the surface, in truth, it's been anything but easy. Because when your soul is in its final life cycle, the people you attract are rarely there to coddle you. They're there to awaken you. You've likely noticed a pattern. Your friendships, your romances, even your family dynamics, they don't follow the script society teaches. Instead of ease, you often encounter intensity. Instead of stability, you find transformation. The people who enter your life feel fated, almost karmic, as if you've met them before, because you probably have. These relationships come with friction, with mirrors, with lessons. They pull you into your shadow, they stir your deepest fears, and they trigger parts of you that you thought you'd buried. But here's the twist. These aren't toxic entanglements meant to destroy you. They are soul contracts designed to evolve you. You came into this life not seeking comfort, but completion, and the people you meet are the catalysts. They challenge your patterns, force you to confront your truths, and push you to shed layers that no longer serve you. And while others may judge you for letting go of relationships that don't look broken on the outside, you know better. You can feel when something has stopped growing, and you'd rather walk away in alignment than stay in stagnation. You're not interested in surface-level connection. You crave depth, truth, and emotional accountability. You'd rather be alone than pretend, and because of that, your relationships are fewer, but far more potent. You don't cling to people. You learn from them. You don't resent endings. You respect their timing. You're not chasing soulmates. You're attracting reflections of your evolution. Each connection becomes a sacred mirror, showing you where you still need healing, where you've grown, and where you're ready to rise higher. Love, for you, is not a fairy tale. It's a furnace, and only the brave can stand in it with you. But in that fire, real transformation occurs, not just for you, but for them too. Because your energy doesn't just take, it teaches. Your presence invites others to rise, to awaken, to question, to stretch. And if they can't rise with you, you bless them and let them go, not with bitterness, but with gratitude. Because you understand what most people don't. Real love isn't always soft. Sometimes it's the force that burns everything falls to the ground, so only truth can remain. Time feels like an illusion. And though the clocks keep ticking and the calendars keep flipping, something deep within you no longer moves by hours, dates, or deadlines. It moves by rhythm, by intuition, by soul. You watch the world obsess over time, rushing, planning, aging in fear. And yet you walk through it all like someone who remembers a secret, that this life is just one chapter in an endless book. Sometimes entire days pass like seconds, and other times a single moment stretches into eternity. So vivid, so full, it feels like it contains the whole universe. You find yourself less concerned with what time is it, and more interested in what is this moment asking of me. Because the more awake you become, the more you realize that time is not linear, it's fluid, it's sacred, and it bends around presence. People tell you to plan 5 years ahead, to meet deadlines, to chase the future like a prize. But your soul is far more interested in divine timing than scheduled outcomes. You sense when to move and when to wait, when to speak and when to listen. Not because a calendar told you, but because your inner knowing has become louder than the world's noise. Time no longer enslaves you, it dances with you. You notice how synchronicities arrive when you're still, how life responds when you're aligned, how magic enters the spaces where you stop trying to control everything. You're not lazy, you're listening. You understand that forcing life by the clock only creates resistance, while trusting the inner current brings effortless unfolding. Even aging feels different for you. You don't dread the passing years, because you don't see life as a countdown. You see it as a spiral of becoming. You might feel older than your age, or ageless altogether, because the soul doesn't wear watches. It carries wisdom from other lifetimes, and that wisdom tells you that time is not running out, it's expanding. And in your stillest moments, you sometimes wonder if this sense of timelessness is a sign that you're nearing the end of the soul's journey, that you've almost completed what you came here to do. Because when you stop chasing time and start honoring presence, that's when the soul is truly free. Sick number 5. You're drawn to solitude, not isolation. And that distinction has become one of the clearest signs that your soul is nearing its final life cycle. Because you no longer fear being alone. In fact, you crave it. While the world around you rushes to fill every moment with noise, distraction, and social validation, you find deep nourishment in stillness, in quiet spaces where no masks are needed and no roles must be played. It's not that you dislike people, you love deeply, you care intensely, but something within you understands that constant company can sometimes dilute clarity. You've realized that growth doesn't always happen in conversation. Often it blooms in silence. Solitude, for you, is a sacred sanctuary where you reconnect with yourself, recalibrate your energy, and listen to the whispers of your inner wisdom that get drowned out by the volume of daily life. It's in these moments alone that truths surface, that your creativity awakens, that healing begins. Others might see your preference for being alone as withdrawal, but you know it's not a retreat, it's a return. A return to your essence, to your soul's voice, to the unfiltered version of you that doesn't need to entertain, explain, or perform. You walk through forests and feel communion. You sit in silence and feel connection. You journal, meditate, reflect, not because it's trendy, but because it's how you breathe spirit. The more you embrace solitude, the less tolerance you have for superficiality. Small talk drains you, crowded rooms numb you, and you'd rather spend a quiet evening under the stars than a loud night trying to fit into places that no longer feel like home. You've learned that being alone isn't the same as being lonely. In fact, solitude has made you feel more whole, more rooted, more you than any crowd ever could. And in that sacred space, you've started to remember something. That peace is not something you find out there, it's something you uncover within. You're not running from the world, you're simply no longer trying to lose yourself in it. You know that when you finally feel at home, in your own presence, you're free. Because those in their final life cycle don't need constant company to feel alive. They carry life within them, and solitude becomes their sanctuary, not their sentence. See number 6. Your intuition is no longer a whisper, it's a roar, and you can no longer ignore it, suppress it, or rationalize it away like you once did. It doesn't ask for your permission, it commands your attention. What used to feel like subtle nudges or quiet gut feelings now arrives as undeniable knowing, sudden clarity, and sometimes even physical sensations that alert you to truth or deception before your mind has time to catch up. It's as if your inner compass has been fine-tuned to such a high frequency that you can sense the energy of a room before stepping into it, feel the intentions behind someone's words without needing proof, and foresee the outcome of decisions not by logic but by inner alignment. And while the world may still run on reason, your soul no longer does. It runs on resonance. You no longer need long explanations or second opinions to know when something isn't for you. You feel it instantly. You walk away from what others would tolerate. You decline what others might chase. And though some may call it impulsive, for you, it's not haste, it's harmony. Because when you're in your final life cycle, your intuition isn't just a tool, it's a truth teller, honed over lifetimes of mistakes, awakenings, and spiritual refinement. You've made choices before that cost you deeply when you ignored that inner voice, and now you honor it like sacred scripture. It shows up in dreams, in synchronicities, in repeated signs that seem too precise to be coincidence. You don't brush it off anymore. You trust it. Because you've seen what happens when you don't. Whether it's avoiding a toxic situation, knowing when to speak your truth, or sensing when to take a leap that defies all logic, your intuition has become your closest guide, your loudest ally. And with every choice you make from this space, you feel more aligned, more empowered, more whole. You no longer seek outside validation for your decisions, because you've remembered that the most powerful answers never come from others. They rise from within. Your roar of intuition is not fear-based, it's freedom-based. It's not there to warn you of danger. It's there to point you to your destiny. And when your life starts moving in harmony with that roar, you begin to understand this isn't just guidance. It's your soul's memory speaking through you. Loud, clear, and unshakable. Sig number 7. You forgive easily, but not because you're weak, and certainly not because you've forgotten the pain. It's because your soul has risen above the need to hold on to it. In a world where vengeance is glorified and grudges are worn like armor, your ability to let go is not a flaw. It's evidence of your evolution. You've been through enough lifetimes, enough heartbreaks, betrayals, and soul-deep disappointment to know that clinging to resentment only chains you to what broke you. And so, when someone wrongs you, you don't excuse the behavior, but you also don't allow it to take up permanent residence in your heart. You don't forgive because they deserve it. You forgive because you deserve peace. You've learned that carrying bitterness is like drinking poison, hoping someone else will feel your pain. And you're no longer interested in staying spiritually sick just to prove a point. You forgive, not to reopen doors that were meant to stay closed, but to free yourself from emotional prisons you once kept yourself in. That's the quiet power of someone in their final life cycle. They no longer confuse justice with vengeance or pride with power. You understand that forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation, and it certainly doesn't mean forgetting. It means releasing the energetic weight so you can continue moving forward without the baggage of the past. You've cried through nights that no one saw, battled your own ego in silence, and emerged with a heart that still chooses love. Love, not because it's easy, but because it's sacred. You've met people whose pain caused them to lash out, and instead of matching their fire with fire, you transmuted it with understanding. That's not softness, that's soul strength. It takes courage to keep your heart open in a world that keeps trying to close it. And when people wonder how you stay so calm, so grounded, so free from resentment, they don't realize that your forgiveness isn't a reaction. It's a choice to protect your peace, to honor your healing, and to walk in alignment with the truth that no one else's actions should have the power to dictate your vibration. You forgive because you've outgrown the prison of pain. You forgive because peace is your priority now. And in doing so, you prove that true strength isn't in holding on. It's in letting go. Sig number 8. You're unapologetically authentic. And it's not because you're trying to prove anything, It's because you finally remembered who you are, beneath all the layers the world tried to put on you. There was a time when you molded yourself to fit in, when you silenced your truth to be accepted, when you traded fragments of your identity just to feel safe in rooms that never saw you. But not anymore. Now, you walk into spaces with your full self intact. No masks, no filters, no watered-down version to make others more comfortable. You've realized that authenticity isn't rebellion, it's liberation. It's the bold act of refusing to betray your soul just to meet someone else's expectations. You speak what others only dare to think. You dress in alignment with your essence rather than the latest trend. And you make choices that reflect your inner compass instead of the crowd's direction. This raw honesty radiates from you, not in arrogance, but in grounded self-awareness. And while it may unsettle some, it inspires many, because in a world addicted to imitation, your truth is magnetic. You're not here to be liked, you're here to be real. And that truth makes you powerful beyond measure. You no longer apologize for your sensitivity, your depth, your vision, your boundaries, or your voice. You've lost people because of it, jobs, relationships, so-called friends, but what you gain in return is far more valuable. Peace, clarity, and unshakable self-respect. You know who you are, what you stand for, and where you're going. And even when fear whispers that authenticity might cost you everything, your soul answers back, it's the only thing worth keeping. You don't chase approval, you attract alignment. And when you walk away, you do so without guilt. Because you understand that shrinking for others never served anyone, not even them. Your presence, your truth, your very existence is permission for others to drop the act and come home to themselves. You're not perfect, but you're real. And that's your magic. You've outgrown the need to be digestible for everyone. And instead, you've chosen to be undeniable to the right ones. Your authenticity is not a phase, it's your frequency. And those who are meant for you will rise to meet it, not try to dim it. Because once you choose to live in your truth, you never go back to fragments. Signature 9, you feel like you're preparing to leave something behind. And though you can't quite put it into words, the sensation runs deep, as if your soul is packing invisible bags, tying up karmic threads, and quietly saying goodbye to a version of reality it no longer belongs to. It's not fear, and it's not sadness. It's more like a solemn clarity, an inner knowing that your time here, in this form, in this cycle, is nearing completion. You move through life with a strange mix of gratitude and detachment, loving deeply but without clinging, appreciating the beauty of each moment while simultaneously sensing its impermanence. The things that once captivated you now seem like echoes of a story you've already read. And though you still show up in the world, part of you remains elsewhere, tuned to a frequency beyond the physical. You might find yourself reminiscing without reason, or feeling emotional over simple moments, a sunset, a child's laughter, an old song, as if your soul is collecting memories like souvenirs from a sacred journey. And it's not death you're feeling, it's transcendence. It's the shedding of what's no longer needed, the release of attachments that once defined you, the preparation for a transition so profound that it defies language. You're not checking out. You're waking up. You're remembering that you are more than this body, more than this name, more than this lifetime. The relationships that matter have taken on a different weight, a sacredness, as if you're being called to forgive more easily, to love more openly, and to speak the truth while you still have the chance. You've stopped trying to build castles out of sand and started building peace within yourself instead. Your soul is moving in slow, intentional steps, less focused on doing and more aligned with being. There's a spiritual maturity in you now, a calm acceptance that not everything must be fixed, not every chapter must be long, and not every goodbye is a loss. You feel as if you're aligning with something eternal, something far beyond this world, and you no longer need proof. You know. The life you've lived is not ending, it's evolving. And the sense that you're preparing to leave something behind isn't about escape, it's about elevation. It's the soul standing at the threshold, not of an ending, but of a return. Dear listeners, before one learns how to master the outer world, one must begin by mastering the inner world. The path of self-mastery is not a path of force. It is a path of awareness, discipline, and removal. Today, I would like to speak to you about the 5 hindrances that silently but powerfully obstruct your progress towards self-mastery. Like boulders in a river, these hindrances disrupt the natural flow of your potential. They must not be fought. They must be understood and transcended. Let us reflect upon them through 4 key principles that support the path to inner clarity and strength. In the pursuit of self-mastery, the first and often most subtle obstacle is the hindrance of sensual desire. This is not only about indulgence in pleasure, but about the constant pull of the senses that keeps the mind outwardly fixated. It is the craving for stimulation, the attraction to the pleasant, and the resistance to the neutral or the dull. It is the itch for something more, something brighter, something louder. The challenge lies not in the presence of pleasure itself, but in our dependency on it, our attachment to the pleasant, and our aversion to silence and stillness. Sensual desire is the reason why a person cannot sit in silence for 5 minutes without feeling bored. It is why our hands unconsciously reach for the phone, the screen, the noise. It is why we eat not because we are hungry, but because we are uncomfortable with emptiness. Why do we fill every gap in our day with sound or sight? Because the mind driven by desire fears stillness. Stillness becomes a confrontation with the self, and, for many, this is more uncomfortable than any physical hardship. What we must understand is that this endless reaching outward disconnects us from ourselves. It is like trying to fill a cup with water while there is a hole at the bottom. No matter how much we pour in, the thirst returns. This is the trap of sensual desire. It gives us a moment of pleasure, followed by a longer period of dissatisfaction. It does not nourish, it only stimulates. And as long as we live on stimulation, we will never develop the strength of stillness. Self-mastery demands that we train ourselves to sit with simplicity, to be comfortable with less, not less in a way that deprives, but less in a way that frees. The ancient masters did not renounce the world out of hatred for it. They renounced it because they saw its transience. They recognized that no matter how refined the pleasure, it too shall pass. And to anchor one's peace in something passing is to build a home on sand. So how does one begin to loosen the grip of this hindrance? The first step is observation. Without judging, without reacting, simply observe the pull of desire. Notice when your mind is restless and seeks to be entertained. Notice when you are not hungry but still crave food. Notice when you are not lonely but still crave attention. This awareness is the beginning of freedom, because what we see clearly, we are no longer blindly controlled by. Next, we practice restraint, not repression but conscious redirection. Instead of reaching for the phone, pause. Instead of indulging in every craving, allow one to pass by like a cloud. You do not need to fight it, you simply do not feed it. Slowly you will find that the craving weakens, and in its place something deeper arises, a sense of contentment, a sense of enoughness. This is the gift of stillness. To cultivate stillness, you must give it space. Every day, even for a few minutes, sit in silence without any form of stimulation. No music, no phone, no conversation, just your breath, your body and your mind. At first it will be uncomfortable because the mind, conditioned by years of stimulation, will rebel. It will tell you this is a waste of time. It will tell you you are missing out. But stay. Stay until the storm settles, until the mind like muddy water begins to clear. And in that clarity, you will notice a new kind of joy, not the sharp spike of pleasure, but the steady warmth of presence, the joy of being here without needing anything more, the joy of not escaping the moment, but fully inhabiting it. This is the strength that comes from stillness. It is not passive, it is not weak, it is powerful because it is rooted. There will always be temptations, there will always be distractions, but the difference is that now you are not a servant to them. You have tasted something higher, something more real, and once you do, the glitter of stimulation begins to lose its hold. The sugar becomes too sweet, the noise too loud, the drama too empty. Self-mastery is not a rejection of life's pleasures. It is a reordering of priorities. It is a commitment to choose clarity over confusion, depth over distraction, peace over pleasure when they come at the cost of your presence. You learn to enjoy without an attachment, to act without addiction, to participate without being possessed. And so the first hindrance begins to dissolve, not through force, but through understanding, not through denial, but through refinement. This is the way of the inner warrior, the one who fights no one, but wins the greatest battle of all, the battle within. The second hindrance to self-mastery is ill will, and this one often hides behind the mask of righteousness. It is the fire of anger, the tension of resentment, the coldness of silent judgment. It appears when things do not go our way, when people act against our expectations, when life presents us with discomfort and we choose to meet it with blame rather than understanding. Ill will is the emotional energy that seeks to separate, to push away, to dominate. It is a reaction that arises when we feel powerless, and instead of softening, we tighten. Instead of understanding, we control. But the deeper truth is this: control is an illusion. We cannot control people, we cannot control the world around us completely. The only thing truly within our reach is how we meet what arises within and around us. The illusion of control leads to frustration because the world does not move according to our preferences. Other people have their own paths, their own pain, their own conditioning. To expect them to align perfectly with our mind is not wisdom. It is arrogance masked as justice. Self-mastery requires that we replace control with compassion. Compassion is not a weakness, it is the greatest expression of strength, because it requires us to keep our heart open, even when it is easier to close it. Anger is easy, anyone can be angry. What is rare is to meet provocation with patience, to meet insult with silence, to meet hostility with understanding. This does not mean we become passive or allow harm. It means that even when we stand our ground, we do so from clarity, not from hatred. Ill will is not only harmful to others, it is poison to the one who carries it. The mind filled with resentment is like a room filled with smoke. No matter how pure the intentions, the vision becomes clouded. A single thought of hatred can disturb an entire day. A single word spoken in anger can damage a relationship for years. And what do we gain in return? Temporary satisfaction, perhaps, but at what cost? The heart becomes heavy, the mind becomes restless, and the path to self-mastery becomes hidden beneath emotional debris. To release ill will, we must first become aware of it. Most people carry subtle forms of anger they are not even conscious of. A slight toward a colleague, a bitterness toward a family member, a grudge buried deep from the past. We hold on to these feelings thinking they give us power. In truth, they make us prisoners. To see this clearly is the beginning of liberation. When the mind becomes quiet, when we sit in stillness, the old anger often surfaces. This is not a mistake, this is healing. The practice is not to push anger away, but to observe it without feeding it. Notice how it rises where it lives in the body, what thoughts it attaches to. Just watch it like a flame in a lantern. If you do not add more oil, it will flicker and fade. In this space of awareness, compassion naturally arises. Because when you see your own anger clearly, you begin to see the anger of others not as evil but as pain unprocessed. When someone hurts you, they are often acting from their own suffering. Their aggression is their weakness, not their power. This insight does not excuse harm, but it transforms your response. Instead of reacting, you pause. Instead of attacking, you inquire. What is really needed here? Is it to speak? Is it to let go? Is it to step away? These choices become available only when the heart is not consumed by ill will. And the only way the heart becomes free is through repeated practice, through the cultivation of compassion as a living force, not a distant idea. To develop compassion, we can begin with ourselves. Notice how harshly we speak to our own mind when we make mistakes. Notice the impatience, the inner critic, the self-directed anger. This too is ill will, and it is often the root of how we treat others. If you cannot forgive yourself, your capacity to forgive others will always be limited. So speak gently to your own heart. Sit with your pain as you would sit with a friend. Offer your own mind the same kindness you long for from others. Then extend this kindness outward, in small moments, in quiet ways. Listen without judgment. Speak without blame. Walk through life with the intention to understand more than to be understood. This is the way of compassion, not control. And from this space, real strength arises. Because nothing can disturb the one who no longer takes offense. Nothing can shake the one who no longer needs to win every battle. Compassion makes us invincible, not through domination, but through equanimity. The more you practice this, the more you will see ill will fading from your mind, not because the world changed, but because your way of seeing it did. The people who once angered you will still speak. The situations that once triggered you will still occur, but your inner world will no longer be moved so easily, and this stillness is the beginning of true power. So as we continue the path of self-mastery, let us remember that the goal is not to control life but to live it wisely. And the wisest way to live is not with clenched fists, but with an open heart. The third hindrance on the path of self-mastery is sloth and torpor, and it is one of the most underestimated enemies of growth. It is the dullness that creeps into the body, the heaviness that clings to the mind, and the silent voice that says, not now, maybe later, perhaps tomorrow. It disguises itself as rest, but it is not the rest that restores. It is the stillness that stagnates. It feels like peace on the surface, but underneath it is resistance. It is not physical exhaustion, but a spiritual weight that holds us back from becoming fully alive. This hindrance does not always shout, it often whispers. It tells you there is no point in trying. It convinces you to wait for the right moment, the perfect condition, the spark of motivation. But that spark rarely comes on its own, because energy is not a gift, it is a result. It is something that is generated through action, not before it. The mistake most people make is believing that they must feel ready before they begin. But readiness comes from movement, not from idleness. Sloth and torpor are not merely about laziness. They are the absence of clarity and direction. When a person wakes up without purpose, the mind has no reason to be sharp, the body has no reason to rise with strength, and so both fall into a dull rhythm, a kind of drifting existence. We begin to fill our days with minor distractions, small comforts, and meaningless routines, not because they nourish us, but because they require no effort and ask no questions. To overcome this hindrance, one must first awaken to it, become fully honest about the difference between true rest and subtle avoidance. True rest leaves you refreshed, avoidance leaves you more tired. Energy over excuses is not about forcing the body beyond its limits. but about refusing to be ruled by inertia. It means choosing movement over delay, intention over vagueness, action over passivity. The body and mind are connected, and one influences the other deeply. When the body is inactive, the mind becomes cloudy. When the body is heavy, the spirit begins to sink. So one of the most powerful ways to clear sloth and torpor is to start with the body. Stand up, move, breathe deeply, stretch with awareness, walk with purpose. Each time you move your body with intention, you signal to your mind that you are present and engaged. In our training, we emphasize discipline, not to punish, but to awaken. Because discipline builds momentum, and momentum creates clarity. The simple act of doing something regularly with full attention is enough to break through the fog of a torpor. Whether it is meditation, movement, or mindful work, consistency is the key. And when you feel that heaviness again, do not wait for it to pass like a cloud. You must walk through it, step by step, breath by breath, until you emerge on the other side. Another important aspect is environment. Just as a plant cannot grow in a dark room, your energy cannot flourish in an uninspiring space. Surround yourself with simplicity and order. Keep your space clean and your schedule intentional. What you see and experience daily influences your internal state. If your world is cluttered, your mind becomes cluttered. If your life lacks rhythm, your energy has nowhere to flow. Also, be mindful of the company you keep. If you spend time with those who normalize excuse and stagnation, you will slowly begin to absorb the same attitude. Instead, choose to be around those who challenge you to grow, who hold you accountable, who speak from clarity, not from comfort. Their energy will lift yours even without words. And finally, observe your inner language. What do you tell yourself when you feel uninspired? Do you say, "I cannot do this," or "I will begin now"? Do you wait for conditions to change? Or do you change your position in this moment? The thoughts we repeat become the beliefs we live by. If you believe you are weak, you will act weakly. If you believe that energy is something you create, you will rise again and again, even when tired, even when uncertain. It is also helpful to reflect on your deeper reason, your why. Without purpose, energy has no direction, and without direction, it dissolves into distraction. Ask yourself, why do I train? Why do I grow? What do I serve with this life? These questions are like sparks, and when you hold them close, they ignite the fire within you. There will be days when you do not feel like moving, days when the mind feels clouded and the body feels unwilling. But those days are the most important days to show up, because it is not difficult to act when we feel good. The real transformation happens when we act despite not feeling ready. That is how energy is cultivated, through commitment, through movement, through presence. And as you begin to live this way, you will notice something changing. The heaviness lifts more quickly, the mind clears more easily, the excuses lose their strength, because you have stopped waiting for motivation, and instead, you have become the source of it. So let us remember that energy is not given, it is earned through daily action, through conscious choices, and through the courage to face our own resistance. And in doing so, we do not only rise above sloth and torpor, we begin to live with a lightness and strength that no external condition can take away. On the path of self-mastery, one of the most deceiving obstacles is the heaviness that quietly takes root within us. The dulling of the mind, the slackening of the spirit, the slow drag of the body. Not due to real tiredness, but due to a loss of inner fire. This is the hindrance of sloth and torpor, and it does not always arrive with noise. It often enters silently. It settles slowly, making us believe we are simply resting, when in fact we are avoiding the work of becoming. Sloth and torpor are not laziness in the common sense. They are deeper, more subtle. They are the lack of energy not from exhaustion, but from disconnection. A person can sleep long hours and still wake up heavy, not because the body needed more sleep, but because the spirit has not been stirred to life. The energy that awakens clarity, purpose, discipline does not come from sleep alone. It comes from alignment and action. The more we wait to feel ready, the more we sink into passivity. Waiting becomes the excuse and energy slips further away. Energy is a result, not a condition. It is born from movement and direction, not from sitting still and hoping for change. Self-mastery does not ask for perfection, it asks for consistency. To feel heavy and act anyway, to feel uninspired and still take one step. This is the discipline that dissolves this hindrance. It begins the moment we stop justifying our delay and start moving with whatever we have, however small the effort. Sloth, torpor often come with stories. The inner voice that says, "Not today, maybe later, I am not in the right mood," or "This is not the right time." These thoughts seem harmless, but they feed the very state we are trying to escape. It is not the thought itself that binds us, it is believing in it, following it, giving it power. The mind will always prefer comfort to discomfort, but growth does not come from comfort. It comes from pressure, not overwhelming force, but the steady discipline of showing up again and again. When the mind is dull and the body resists, the most powerful action is the smallest one done with full attention. Stand up, breathe deeply, move your body with purpose, not for the sake of exercise alone, but to awaken the energy that lies dormant within. Even the simple act of stretching the arms, walking in silence, or sitting upright can shift the entire internal state. The body and the mind are deeply connected, and the posture of the body becomes the posture of the spirit. To live with energy is not to avoid rest, it is to rest with awareness, to act with clarity, to move with intention. Sloth steals time not because it takes hours away, but because it steals the life inside those hours. It turns days into repetitions, moments into dull shadows. But with awareness and discipline, we turn that around. One breath at a time, one action at a time. Another aspect to recognize is that this hindrance thrives in confusion. When you do not know what you are doing or why you are doing it, your energy scatters. Clarity is power. When you rise in the morning with clear purpose, when your steps are guided by intention, your mind becomes sharp and your body follows. So take time each day to reflect on why you walk this path. Why you seek self-mastery. What do you serve? What is your deeper reason? Because when your why is clear, your energy has a direction. And where there is direction, there is less room for stagnation. This energy is not something magical. It is something we train like a muscle. The more we use it, the stronger it gets. And the less we use it, the more it fades. Training the mind to stay awake requires routine but not mechanical repetition. It requires presence. Do your practices with full attention. Eat with mindfulness. Speak with clarity. Move with awareness. Slowly the fog of torpor begins to lift, and in its place the light of presence returns. Be mindful also what you feed your senses. A distracted mind is more likely to fall into this dull state because it is constantly pulled in many directions. Create a space around you that supports discipline, not temptation. Simplicity is not only an external choice, it is an internal one. Let your space reflect your intention, and your energy will begin to mirror it. There will always be moments when you feel low, when nothing inside you wants to rise. In those moments, do not wait for motivation. Do something small. Stand tall. Drink water. Take a few conscious breaths. The moment you act, the energy begins to return. This is the law of movement. The hardest step is the first, and once that is taken, the rest will follow more easily. Sloth and torpor are not defeated in one grand gesture. They are worn down by quiet perseverance. They lose their grip when you stop negotiating with them, when you stop making excuses and simply begin. With every step you take, despite the heaviness, you send a message to your mind that you are in control, that your purpose is greater than your mood. And through this quiet battle fought daily, with breath, with movement, with discipline, you begin to awaken a force that no longer depends on conditions. You become a source of energy rather than a seeker of it. And this is what makes you unshakable.
What if I told you that where you store your money is silently shaping your financial destiny? In Buddhist philosophy, energy flows where attention goes. And the wrong placement of money can actually attract scarcity instead of abundance. Buddhism teaches that your outer environment mirrors your inner world. In the same way our minds must be clear to attract clarity, our homes must be aligned with flow to attract prosperity. Money isn't just paper, it's energy. When you place it in areas of your home that are associated with stagnation, dirt, or disrespect, you unconsciously create blockages in your financial life. These teachings aren't superstition. They're rooted in the mindfulness of energy, space, and intention. Today, we'll explore 7 places you should never keep your money if you want to invite wealth and abundance into your life. In Buddhist teachings, the space beneath your bed is considered a repository for dormant, stagnant energy, often referred to as the place of forgotten energy. And storing money there can unintentionally align your financial energy with inertia and neglect. While it may seem like a convenient hiding spot, what lies beneath the bed often represents the aspects of our lives we avoid confronting. Clutter, dust, forgotten items, unresolved emotion. According to the energetic principles found in both Buddhist mindfulness and Eastern space alignment practices like Feng Shui, money is not merely a physical object. It is a carrier of energy and intention. When you tuck it away under the bed, it becomes energetically buried, disconnected from your daily life, and entangled with the subconscious weight of avoidance. The bed itself is a sacred place of rest, renewal, and vulnerability. It is where we retreat to dream, restore, and heal, introducing the energy of wealth into a space designed for unconscious processing, creates a symbolic and spiritual mismatch, disrupting the harmony that invites true prosperity. Just as the body must rest in a clean, elevated and peaceful space to rejuvenate, so too must your wealth rest in a space of clarity, respect, and flow to grow. Furthermore, dust and debris that collect under the bed symbolize the decay of intention. What was once active becomes stagnant. In Buddhist philosophy, intention is everything. Wealth, treated with reverence and placed in open, clean, well-lit environments, circulates freely and multiplies. But money, stored beneath the bed, is deprived of light, circulation, and conscious attention, which are all essential elements for energetic expansion. It is as though you are placing your financial blessings in a forgotten tomb, asking them to grow in darkness. Over time, this seemingly harmless habit can manifest in real-world consequences, financial delays, blocked opportunities, or a subtle but persistent sense that your money isn't working for you. Just as the mind must be cleared of attachments and shadows to access enlightenment, your space must be cleared of hidden stagnation to access abundance. The simple act of removing money from under your bed and placing it somewhere intentional, like a sacred box or a designated prosperity altar, can shift your entire financial frequency. It tells the universe, I am awake. I honor what I have. I am ready for more. I am ready for more. Because in the language of energy, where you place your money is a reflection of how you value it and yourself. In Buddhist-inspired energy teachings and space awareness, the top of the refrigerator is one of the most overlooked yet energetically disruptive places to store money. And doing so can silently sabotage your financial flow because of one powerful principle. Heat destroys harmony. The refrigerator, although associated with nourishment and preservation, produces heat from its motor, especially at the top, where warmth and vibration accumulate invisibly, and this heat energetically disturbs the stability and grounding that money requires to grow and circulate wisely. In Buddhist mindfulness, everything in our environment either contributes to or detracts from our inner balance, and wealth is no different. It thrives in spaces that promote calm, order, and intention. Heat, by nature, represents hyperactivity, dispersion, and restlessness, and when money is stored in a hot, cluttered, or forgotten space like the top of a refrigerator, it becomes spiritually agitated, fragmented, and misaligned with the steady energy of abundance. It's like placing a seed in dry, scorched earth. It cannot root, cannot thrive, and cannot bear fruit. Moreover, the top of the refrigerator is often used as a dumping ground for odds and ends, old mail, unused containers, empty boxes, or neglected decor, all of which create energetic chaos and send a message of indifference or disorder. In Buddhist practice, intention and awareness are everything. How you do one thing is how you do all things. So, when money is placed in a neglected, overheated, cluttered zone, it is symbolically treated with disrespect and carelessness. This sends a signal to your subconscious and to the universe that your financial blessings are an afterthought, not a sacred trust. And because energy mirrors belief, that unconscious message can begin to play out in your real life as sudden expenses, unstable income, or difficulty holding on to wealth, even when it arrives. Additionally, heat rises, and from a symbolic perspective, this upward motion lifts money away from its groundedness, pulling it out of alignment with earth energy, the energy of stability, security, and sustained growth. This creates a subtle push-pull dynamic where money enters your life but never feels like it stays. It arrives with potential but dissipates quickly, like steam escaping from a boiling pot. Just as Buddhist monks handle even a single coin with full presence and gratitude, we are reminded that money must be housed in a place of balance and stillness to retain its power. The simple act of removing cash, wallets, or even spare change from the top of the refrigerator and relocating it to a cool, intentional space, a drawer dedicated to wealth, a money altar, or a sealed wooden box, can dramatically shift your financial energy. You are not just rearranging objects, you are recalibrating your relationship with wealth. In the language of sacred energy, heat without awareness burns through fortune. But when you treat your financial resources with calm, cool reverence, you create an environment where money is not only safe, it is honored, amplified, and invited to stay. In Buddhist teachings and energy-based space awareness, the bathroom is considered a space of elimination, purification, and release. Its entire function is centered around letting go, flushing out, and cleansing what the body no longer needs. And for this reason, it holds a deeply symbolic connection to the energy of waste. When you store money in bathroom cabinets, drawers, or anywhere near the toilet or sink, you are unconsciously aligning your financial energy with the principle of disposal. sending a message to both your subconscious and the energetic universe that money is something to be used up, discarded, or treated as temporary. In Eastern traditions that honor energetic flow, such as feng shui, which shares roots with Buddhist spatial mindfulness, water is a double-edged symbol. It can bring cleansing and clarity, or it can carry things away. Bathrooms are places where energy often drains, both literally and symbolically. And when wealth is stored in these areas, it gets energetically flushed from your life. You may find that money slips through your fingers, that no matter how much you earn, it disappears without lasting impact, or that your savings never seem to grow. That's because bathrooms represent outflow energy. Money placed there is silently influenced by the same forces that carry away waste. Even if your bathroom is clean and well organized, the energetic imprint of the space remains centered on elimination. From a spiritual standpoint, money needs to be treated with sacred care, placed in spaces that represent stability, continuity, and reverence, not alongside toothpaste, cleaning products, or near drains and sewer lines. Every placement decision communicates something deeper. Money kept in a bathroom cabinet may signal that you don't fully respect or prioritize your financial blessings, that you see them as utilitarian rather than sacred, or that you expect money to be temporary, fleeting, or easily washed away. Buddhist mindfulness teaches that what we honor honors us back, and when you keep money in a place of waste, you diminish its energetic integrity and invite poverty or financial instability. It's not about superstition. It's about symbolism and the laws of resonance. Your outer world reflects your inner beliefs, and when you tuck away your wealth in a space meant for discarding, you reinforce internal narratives of unworthiness, lack, or scarcity. To correct this, move any cash, coins, or wallets out of the bathroom entirely. Choose a location that feels clean, grounded, and energetically abundant. Somewhere that symbolizes growth, safety, and intentional stewardship. A designated wealth corner, a sacred drawer, or even a small prosperity altar will do. The key is to create an energetic boundary between what you wish to release and what you hope to retain. Money is not waste. It is opportunity, responsibility, and spiritual energy in motion. Treat it accordingly, and it will respond in kind. Because in the end, when you stop storing wealth in places of elimination, you stop unconsciously flushing your fortune down the drain. In Buddhist philosophy and energy-conscious living, clutter is not just physical. It is emotional, mental, and spiritual congestion that blocks the natural flow of life. And when money is stored in closets full of clutter, it becomes entangled in what is known as energetic hoarding, a state where wealth is trapped in stagnant, unprocessed energy that prevents it from moving, growing, or serving its purpose. Closets are often the most neglected spaces in a home, places where we stash what we don't want to deal with. Outdated clothes, broken items, unused gifts, sentimental baggage, and unresolved memories. These forgotten objects carry emotional residue, and when money is placed among them, inside old handbags, between piles of unused clothes, or buried under boxes, you're energetically burying your wealth in a tomb of indecision and avoidance. In Buddhist teachings, attachment is the root of suffering. And clutter is a physical manifestation of attachment to the past, to fear of letting go, or to a scarcity mindset that says, I might need this someday. When you keep money in such spaces, you are energetically communicating that your wealth is tied to fear, stagnation, or outdated self-worth. Just as breath must flow to sustain life, so must money flow to sustain prosperity, and a cluttered closet blocks that flow with layers of energetic noise. This misalignment causes subtle yet powerful financial disruptions. You may feel stuck no matter how hard you work, find it difficult to manage your money clearly, or experience the frustrating cycle of earning without accumulating. Money stored in cluttered environments becomes dormant. It absorbs the heaviness of indecision and mirrors the chaos that surrounds it. In Buddhist-inspired mindfulness, environment shapes consciousness, and a disordered space reflects and reinforces a disordered inner world. Furthermore, clutter creates visual and energetic overwhelm that makes it difficult to connect with clarity and intention, two essential components of wise financial stewardship. When wealth is surrounded by forgotten objects, it too becomes forgotten, treated more like an afterthought than a blessing. The act of decluttering is therefore not just a physical chore, it is a spiritual ritual, a cleansing of the channels through which abundance can flow freely. If you want to shift your financial energy, begin by clearing your closets, not just to make room, but to release the old stories, stuck emotions, and limiting beliefs that are stored along with the clutter. Remove any money from these spaces and place it somewhere intentional, elevated, and calm, where it can breathe and be seen with gratitude and purpose. Your money deserves to live in a space that reflects your readiness, your clarity, and your respect for its power, not buried beneath what you've outgrown. Because in the sacred language of space, how you store your money is how you treat your wealth. And when you clear the clutter, you clear the way for abundance to enter and stay. In Buddhist-inspired teachings on energy and mindfulness, every object and placement in your home carries symbolic weight, and placing money near the trash can, whether it's loose change on the kitchen counter beside the bin, a wallet on the floor nearby, or envelopes of cash stacked near garbage bags, creates a powerful energetic contradiction that aligns your financial blessings with rejection, waste, and disregard. The trash can, by its very nature, is a symbol of what is no longer wanted, what is broken, spoiled, or useless. In Buddhist thought, where attention and intention go, energy follows. And when you store or leave money near a vessel designed to carry things out of your life, you send a subconscious message that wealth too is expendable, dirty, or unwanted. Energy is deeply responsive to symbolism, and proximity matters. Keeping money near a trash receptacle, even if you're not doing it intentionally, suggests a kind of spiritual carelessness that disrupts the flow of abundance. It mirrors the belief that wealth is fleeting or not worthy of reverence. Over time, this misplacement can manifest in real-world financial patterns, recurring losses, unexpected expenses, or an inability to hold on to money despite your best efforts. In mindfulness practice, we are taught to be conscious of what we surround ourselves with, because everything in our environment shapes our inner state. If the trash can is a portal for rejection and disposal, then placing money near it symbolically invites your finances to follow the same route, out the door, down the drain, or into the void. This isn't superstition, it's the energetic law of correspondence. Just as we wouldn't place sacred items like a mala, a Buddha statue, or a family heirloom next to a pile of garbage, neither should we place the energy of wealth near a space charged with the vibration of worthlessness. Money, in Buddhist view, is neutral but responsive. It takes on the energy of how it is treated. If it is respected, it multiplies. If it is dismissed, it disappears. To shift this dynamic, begin by creating a clear physical and energetic boundary between your money and any trash area. Remove wallets, cash, or even receipts from surfaces near the bin and relocate them to a clean, intentional space, a drawer designated for prosperity, a small wooden box or a sacred corner that reflects gratitude and order. Every time you do this, you are sending a signal to your subconscious and the universe that wealth has a rightful, honorable place in your life. You are rewriting the script from rejection to reverence, from disposal to stewardship. And when you align the energy of your home with that of care, clarity, and worthiness, you invite money not just to enter, but to stay, grow, and serve. Because in the energetic language of Buddhist wisdom, even the smallest act of placement can either attract prosperity or silently push it away. In Buddhist philosophy and energy consciousness living, every item in your home holds a vibration shaped by its use, intention, and emotional charge. And when money is stored in unused wallets or purses, it becomes enveloped in what is known as dormant energy, a state of stillness and disconnection that severs its link to active flow, purpose, and growth. Wallets and purses are more than accessories. They are symbolic homes for wealth, containers of financial energy that either support prosperity or quietly suppress it, depending on how they are treated. An unused wallet, one tucked away in a drawer, forgotten in a closet, or kept for sentimental reasons but no longer serving a daily purpose, becomes energetically stagnant. Its stillness mirrors inactivity. Its disuse signals irrelevance. When you place money inside such objects, you are essentially locking it away in a time capsule, a space where energy is not moving, not breathing, and not participating in the present moment. In Buddhist mindfulness, the present moment is the only place where life and abundance truly exist. So anything disconnected from the now becomes energetically inert. Money, like breath or intention, needs circulation to remain alive and impactful. By storing it in wallets that no longer travel, you symbolically remove it from the journey of your life. This dormancy can result in real-world patterns, finances that feel stuck, investments that go nowhere, or resources that exist but remain untapped and ineffective. Worse yet, you may unconsciously adopt beliefs about your wealth that echo the energy of these forgotten items. Believing that your money has no purpose, that it's locked away, or that you're not meant to engage with it fully. Buddhist practice invites us to be intentional with every gesture and to honor all that sustains us, including our financial tools. The way you store your money is not a trivial matter. It reflects the way you think about your wealth, your worth, and your readiness to receive. To shift this pattern, begin by gathering all unused wallets and purses in your home, checking for any cash, coins, or receipts stored inside, and either blessing and releasing them or intentionally bringing them back into use if they still serve you. Don't allow money to remain idle in a forgotten container. Move it into a living space, an active wallet, or a sacred place where it can breathe and align with your current intentions. This seemingly simple act becomes a powerful spiritual reset, sending a clear message to the universe. My wealth is alive, useful, and present in my life. It transforms dormant energy into dynamic flow and awakens financial movement where there was once stillness. In Buddhist energy work, what is honored grows and what is forgotten withers. When you remove your money from forgotten wallets and place it where it belongs, at the heart of your conscious life, you reclaim its power and open the door for prosperity to return, circulate, and thrive with renewed vitality. In Buddhist teachings, the floor is considered the most grounding yet energetically humble space in any environment. The place that carries the weight of everything above it, collects dust, and absorbs the vibrations of foot traffic, gravity, and neglect. And when money is stored or left on the floor, it becomes symbolically tied to the lowest point of respect, both literally and spiritually. In mindfulness-based traditions, respect and intention are central to the way we treat all objects, especially those linked to our well-being, like food, tools, or wealth. To place money on the floor, whether it's loose change dropped and forgotten, an envelope tucked beneath furniture, or a wallet casually left there, is to associate it with a place of heaviness, disregard, and subordination. Energy always follows meaning, and the floor represents the baseline, what we walk over, step on, and often forget. In the Buddhist view, such placement suggests to the subconscious mind that money is not precious, not sacred, not deserving of elevation or care. And because energy reflects intention, money treated this way will mirror that disrespect through financial instability, losses, or lack of momentum. Moreover, in many Eastern cultures influenced by Buddhist ethics, placing sacred or valuable items on the floor is seen as a direct sign of dishonor. It disrupts the flow of reverence and signals that the object has little or no worth. When money is exposed to this low-energy environment, surrounded by dirt, shoes, and unconscious activity, it absorbs vibrations of carelessness, chaos, and devaluation. Over time, this can manifest as an inability to attract or retain wealth, regardless of effort or skill, because the spiritual message is clear. This doesn't matter. Buddhist mindfulness encourages us to raise the vibration of everything we interact with, not just through thought, but through action and space. Keeping money elevated, protected, and intentionally stored tells the universe and your own deeper self that you are ready to receive, manage, and multiply your resources. To change the energetic outcome, you must first change the gesture. Never allow money to touch the floor. Retrieve any bills or coins you find there, clean them if needed, and place them with full awareness in a space of dignity, a drawer, a pouch, an altar, or a dedicated wealth container that rests off the ground. This simple shift in placement is an act of spiritual correction, a way of lifting your money and your relationship with it into the light of conscious respect. It reminds you that money is not just a tool, but a reflection of your stewardship, your energy, and your inner values. Just as we would never lay a sacred scripture or a meaningful relic on the floor, we must stop placing our money where it is symbolically trampled. Because in the energetic language of Buddhism, what you elevate in your space, you elevate in your life. And when you raise your wealth off the floor, you raise your abundance to meet you where you truly stand. In awareness, in gratitude, and in readiness to receive